Hi.
Hello.
Sorry I'm late. Chuck walked in with a recruit and didn't tell me about it, so I had to say hello. So I'm sorry about that.
No problem. It's only
Good to see you
1:30.
guys. We'll give it just a couple minutes to see if anybody else
Okay.
joins in. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great.
Just saying, we're just going to give it a couple minutes to see if anyone else jumps on. Are you guys all part of the Solo Agent Facebook group also? Okay.
Yes.
I can't hear you, Nicole.
Yes.
Okay. Ron, have we met before?
I don't think so.
Oh, nice to meet you. I didn't recognize the name, so hey, Ron, nice to meet you. I don't think we've met. Which office are you in, Ron?
The Brighton office.
Okay, nice to meet you. Oh, we lost Nicole.
So I'm just, I've got other work here, so I'm just going to listen in.
Oh,
mostly.
no problem. That's okay. No problem. Do what you got to do. So I know what I'd like to do real quickly before we dive into things. If you guys could just give me an idea of how long you've been in the business, that would be helpful as far as how the conversation goes. Nicole, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, excellent. So Nicole, I was just saying, if you guys would just give me an idea of how long you've been in the business, that could be helpful.
Yeah, so I got started with Keller Williams February of 2019.
Okay.
So it's been a little over a year and a half
Okay.
now,
Yeah, almost.
but we're doing good business. Yes, last year I did 1.3 for the year, and then the first half of this year I just surpassed that.
Good for you.
So I'm excited. This is my first solo agent call. I have two small kids, 2 and 4.
Okay.
So I have to usually plan, but I saw this and I was like, I have to be a part of it. So
I'm glad
I got
you
them
made it.
napping 30 minutes before the meeting started.
Okay. Excellent. Well, good. I'm glad you joined. Lee, what about you? How long have you been in the business?
I just passed 1 year.
Just past 1 year.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well,
What about you, Jay?
I was
Oh,
just
go
going
ahead,
to add, just the only thing I wanted to add is because by the time I was finished kind of learning, it was kind of the holiday season. So I was really gearing up for like the spring stuff and had been working with people and then COVID.
Okay.
So it's, now I'm not waiting, but kind of trying to gear up again. And that's
Okay.
why
That's
I'm
good.
looking for ideas.
Yes, good. Action. We have to get into action. That's how we move forward. So we'll talk about that. Okay. Ron, since you took your video on, why don't you share with us real quick? How long you been in the business?
I just joined Keller Williams in March. Just got my license in March.
Oh my
Right
gosh.
before all the COVID stuff.
Oh wow.
A little after
Congratulations.
Jay. So we basically joined about the same time. We were on a lot of the Ignite calls and things like that.
Okay. Excellent.
So this is my second career. I retired from GM back in, December of 18.
Okay.
So I've been working as a consultant and still am. So I'm working 3 days a week there. And so this is transitioning into my next career.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Good. Thank you. How about you, Jay? So you're new also?
Yep, brand new. I like it or not, I actually received my license from the state on Friday, March 13th.
Oh my God.
And
I think that's a good sign, personally.
I guess so. And so we all know what happened after that.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and the best thing is, and I'm sure Ron would agree with me, we've had so much opportunity to learn and train during quarantine that there was the two of us and a couple other people, and we've just gone gangbusters, and I've absorbed every bit of it. So
Good.
excited to be here. And as of this week, I finally, Rick Visca put me with a mentor. So I have a mentor, and
Good.
I'm actually going to cut out of this call like 5 or 10 minutes early because I have a listing appointment this afternoon.
Yes. Good for you. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
awesome. So let's and we'll get to Shannon and Jane, but I just want to touch on something so I don't forget. So through this time, this has been, I agree with you, this has been an incredible opportunity for all of us, to be honest with you. I mean, think of the time we were at the same time we were able to slow down in our lives and just sit back and breathe a little bit because we didn't have to rush off to be anywhere. Although, Nicole, I understand you were probably chasing kids around, but still. So I don't mean to sound selfish that I didn't have kids to chase around. However, overall, we slowed down a little bit. And yet at the same time, we were able to plug into anything and everything at all hours of the day as far as our real estate business. So that's a fantastic opportunity and a gift that we all had through this. And what I want you guys to consider and ask yourselves is, what's next then? And what's next is what I started with, is that we have to take action now. So we have to take action. If you haven't already, and maybe some of you already have, you have to consider what that action is. Who do you, and usually it's a who do you need to be talking to? What people should you, who are the people you should be in conversation with? They're going to help you move your business forward. There's someone in your sphere that is there that is going to help you. There are people in your sphere who want to see your business move forward. So make sure that you are having that conversation.
All right, so this is another conversation.
Let me mute her. Oh, she did. Hang on one second.
Morgan? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure. So sorry.
Who is that?
Sorry, guys.
Oh,
Yeah, I could hear
It's you?
the talking in the hallway there.
Gotcha.
So anyway, so think about that, about what is the action item that you can do? What's the next step you can take? You've learned, I mean, and don't get me wrong, you need to keep learning, attend all the training that you can, soak everything in. And because you've plugged in, I promise you, if you take action, has anyone seen The Matrix, the movie The Matrix? You're going to have a Matrix moment where all of a sudden everything is going to come together. And actually, Nicole's shaking her head because she probably knows, because she, you know, like she said, she's crushing it right now. So it is going to all come together. And before you know it, things are just going to keep moving. You have to stay in action, stay in conversation, and just think of the opportunities that are out there. And for instance, if you hear agents in your office with opportunities for open houses or anything like that where you can engage with other people, take advantage of those opportunities. I know maybe open houses are maybe they're not as relevant as they once were, but they will be, and there will be opportunities for you to reach people that way. So, so that's just my quick spiel about that, but I'd like to hear from you guys as far as what kind of things can we discuss? Well, how can I make sure that I provide value to you guys in the next 50 minutes here left?
well, I'm looking, and maybe Nicole, you have ideas. I'd like to know how you're doing, how you're kind of killing it there with under these conditions. Are you reaching out to your sphere? Are you have other connections? And I just wanted to know, like, about advertising or getting the word out. Like, I connect with people constantly who seem not necessarily interested in houses. I'm always like sending messages for birthdays and this and that. I feel kind of like my hands are tied though, because my real thing is kind of like, I didn't mind calling FSBOs and those people and talking to them, and I can't do that right now, apparently. And is that not ending until September, Kevin? Is that true?
As of right now, that is true. That is true.
Even with the phase 4, like once they do phase 4?
So we're hoping it will be addressed with phase 4, but as of right now, they haven't said anything other than, I think it's September 7th is the actual date, and that's what we're left with, you know. And what I would encourage you to do is that, you know, and I'm glad to hear that you're calling them, and when you are able to do that again, I want you to continue that, because that is a great source of leads. or is contacting for sell by owners and expireds. However, what I would encourage you to do is we have a tendency right now, especially, and this is everyone, Lee, this is not just you. There's a lot of focus on the things that we can't do right now because our hand, as you said, our hands have been tied for so long. We all think of all the things that we can't do. Focus on the things you can do. And when you start to have those moments where you think, well, gosh, if I could just pick up the phone and call that for sale by owner, or call that expired, or whatever it may be, take a step back for a moment and go, okay, that time is going to come. What can I do right now? What can I do right now? Could you draft a letter to send to those same for sale by owners? Could you draft a letter to send to those expireds? This is old school, but could you walk a neighborhood? And I mean, again, I know it's maybe not ideal, but again, we have to think outside of the box now so that we don't let what we can't do stop us from doing things we can.
Maybe I don't understand. Maybe you can clarify. I mean, I have a dog, so I walk many neighborhoods actually.
Yeah.
And like by the law, when you say like send a letter, so what is it that you can't say?
You can send a letter and solicit business all day long. What you can't do is make phone calls and solicit business. That's the only difference. You could draft a letter to for sale by owner asking them if they, however you want to word it to try and earn their business and earn the listing. You can draft that letter all day long. You can send it to as many neighbors as you want. It's just the actual phone calls that are prohibited right now.
So I could, for example, there's someone who I kind of have been calling on and off who's got a FSBO, and I had talked to him previously, and I see he hasn't sold yet. I could actually email him and say, looks like you haven't been able to sell yet. I'm more than happy to, step in and help as needed. You can do that.
Absolutely. And I would, with that particular scenario, at least the way I interpreted it, is that that's actually someone you've had a previous conversation with. You could actually reach out. You could call that person.
Oh,
That is not a solicitation. That is a conversation with someone that you've already been in contact with. So if you've already had contact, and if someone read otherwise, please let me know. But that's the way I interpreted that. That is not a solicitation. That is, you've already had a two-way conversation. So you should be fine to call that person.
does that mean also, and then I'm going to let someone else talk. I got just one more question because I want to hear Nicole's story even. I advertised someone else's listing recently and got some, raw leads, which didn't end up panning out. But can I actually then make my own ad and put it on Facebook and that's fine?
Absolutely, yes. And I would encourage you all, if you're doing, Lee, is that the ad that you asked me about?
What's that?
Was that the ad that you asked me about a couple of weeks ago or something? Did you ask me about an ad? No, maybe
Yeah.
maybe it was another agent. Sorry. Anyway, if you're doing Facebook advertising and you're getting leads through Facebook, just remember that those are not lead. Well, it's possible, but for the most part, those are leads that are going to require nurture. So Lee, don't let that communication stop. Don't think, well, gosh, they didn't respond to me. I'm done with them. Don't do that. Those people need to hear from you like 12 or 15 times. So make sure you stay in constant contact with them.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's good to know because I misunderstood. I thought we couldn't even advertise ourselves on Facebook.
Of course, yes, you can. That September 7th date, as far as non-soliciting, is just regarding cold calls. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Others talk.
Just real quick on that, in case you guys haven't done this yet, or if I hope you're at least aware of it, but as far as canvassing neighborhoods, do you know that you can send postcards through command, and it's fairly inexpensive? So you could create a design, you could create some sort of whatever it may be. You could create something. You could send it just to for sale by owners. You could send it to expired listings if you wanted to. You could just send it to an entire neighborhood if you want. So just know that you do have that ability in there if you were trying to focus some sort of advertising and you're worried about, or you're not allowed to make those phone calls. You can send out postcards directly through command. Yeah, so I would, to Lee's point, I would love to hear from Nicole or anyone else that wants to share right now what has been working.
So I know for me, the business that I just closed I'll say last month, I closed 4 transactions. That was before COVID. So we got, going through the process. A lot for me is referral. I am constantly talking to people. I just talk a lot in general, but, I have gotten in touch with my siblings. I've gotten in touch with my aunts, my uncles. My family is constantly sending me like screenshots from highlights of, Henrietta highlights. A lot of people are saying, where does anybody know a realtor? Going through Facebook? Social media is a huge part of like finding business and just hearing, what people are looking for. I myself, even during COVID, the places that you ordered out from, get in touch with them. I went to Salvatore's in Brockport. I live here in Brockport. And the owner, I've given them so much business by just coming in. And she's like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I actually work in real estate. She's like, I'd love to take your information. You support my business. Can we have a chat? Sometimes it's just like, sometimes not bringing up business and just supporting someone else's business and then saying, hey, by the way, I do this. I like to do my business in like a very nurturing way because there's so many people that jump on it that if you're seeing how they're doing and you're creating that like genuine connection, that's what's worked for me. Letting them know and then following up from there, just saying, hey, I know we had that conversation that I'm in real estate. I'd love to be able to take 5 or 10 minutes and kind of assess your needs. And if they're not ready, then, we set them up for a quarterly plan and just get in touch with them that way.
Nice.
I'm finding my biggest problem now when you have the buyers, right, is going through the market now. It is extremely competitive. I currently have 3 different buyers that I'm working with. All of them are referrals from they're referrals from my younger sister, actually. So they're younger buyers, they're first-time home buyers. And I have somebody that is like great EDM, they've got money to go over, but they're not willing to like waive inspection, which I agree with them. Like it's tough for a first-time home buyer to say, oh, and being a new agent to say, oh, well, if this safety concern pops up, or I'm not an inspector, so I never feel comfortable to say, oh, well, why don't you not get an inspection? I just don't feel like that's authentic, and I don't want to put my clients in a position like that because, I currently have a client that just called me today that there was an illegal sub pump needing to be fixed, and now they have to excavate their brand new, their lawn in the back and get in touch with their attorneys. And I don't like those calls after businesses are closed. We've been paid, but the job's never done.
Sure.
Because then we get referrals from that. Something else, Lee, that I've been doing is I took Bold actually with Kevin and the rest of the leadership, not Bold Pivot, but Bold with
perfect.
Dennis.
Yeah.
And we have there was great scripts, and I've actually pulled out I have it here, is my get referrals. And I go, for me, I sometimes don't know what to say. So I just go literally verbatim off of what this has said. And I'll be doing those phone calls today to people that I've sold to within the past 6 months because buyers are coming out of the market. It's insane right now.
Sure. Nicole, have you taken notes on what you just showed us, those scripts?
Notes on it?
Yeah. Or is it blank?
It's completely blank. So what I do is I'll scan copy it, and then I literally will start to cross things out. Like I'm not part of a team. So for me, I want it to be as genuine as possible.
Can you scan that and upload it to the Facebook group?
Yeah, of course.
That'd be awesome. That'd be great for everyone to see those scripts.
Those are here.
Yes, thank you. I need to get mine out. Yeah, that's great.
There's so many scripts that you can do. Get referrals and then call referrals. So it's like,
you brought up a good point. Just another source of business. You know, really get into your communities. The small businesses there, they need our support, and again, they want to support you. Even if it's just a Salvatore, the pizza place, whatever it may be, walk door to door. The businesses that are open right now, ask how you can find a mutually beneficial relationship with them. They'll let you put cards in there. They'll mention your business if you mention theirs. It's a win-win. The more relationships you have with the small business owners in your community, the more opportunities you're going to provide yourself. So I think that's a great thing. I did the same thing in my community in Victor. I joined the Merchants Group to make sure everyone knew who I was and what I did. I joined the Rotary Club to make sure everyone knew who I was and what I did, and why I do it. Remember that piece. You know what I mean? No one really cares as much about what you do as they do about why you do it. When they see you have some emotion and passion behind what you do, they're going to remember you. So think of that as you're thinking about your script or your spiel, so to speak, about what you're going to say when you walk through that business, and go deeper than just, hey, I'm Kevin Esparza, I work for Keller or real estate agent. Can we do business together? Tell your story. Why are you doing this? Why do you even bother? Why are you even on this call right now to try to build your business? That's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer right now, but I want you to think about it. The why we do is more important than what we do. So you have to keep that top of mind, okay? And especially in your conversations with people. I just think that's important. So,
Kev, something cool too that I've seen, if you are ever wondering, like you have good relationships with businesses, Dennis taught us this in Bold, is adding them into your insights through your KW command. Create that like business relationship. Say, hey, I'd love to be able to market your business to, my clients that I have in, my command system or through my platform. That way you're coming from contribution.
yes.
And you're also lending your head out. And it also gives you a little more practice into command, because there's so much that you can literally do through it that I've just been, playing around with it.
Yeah.
But I found that that's a good way to kind of open the door. If they're not looking right now, just say, hey, I really appreciate it. I'd love to be able to add you into my business insights. And then you can even send them your app so they can see that you've added them into it too.
Yeah, at a minimum, you're providing them, that's a huge value. You know what I mean? Something else to keep in mind as you're having these conversations, no matter who it is, business owner, referral, for sale by owner, pick a person. Any conversation that you're having and your intent is, our intent should always be to grow our business. That's why we do this. But also keep in mind that you should be providing something of value to them. Some part of your communication has to be providing something of value to them. And for a business owner, to Nicole's point, offering to put them in our insights so that their business shows up when we have people using our app and searching the area, that's a huge benefit. That's a huge benefit. So keep that in mind also. I'd like to switch gears a bit because I want to make sure that we talk about it. Even if it's not just, who else, I guess, if you muted yourself, that's fine. Maybe just put it in the chat if you're not in a place you can unmute yourself. But who else is working with buyers right now? I know Jane is, because Jane was on the she was on the book club last week. Who else is working with buyers right now? Okay, so my goal would be for eventually all of you are going to be working with buyers anyway. And more than likely, inventory is still going to be low. So what I want to do is I want to talk about some tactics and some ideas about how we can give our buyers the best opportunity when you're in a 20 offer scenario. How do you make your buyer's offer stand out? So there are lots of different things. I just want to touch on a few of them and just make sure that you keep these in mind. And if you get buyers down the road and you have questions, obviously you can reach out to probably anyone on this call. First and foremost, you have to set expectations with your buyers in this market right now. First and foremost, the average to mid-price range, you're talking about multiple offers almost every time. It's almost inevitable. So that setting that expectation and making it clear with your buyers that this is going to be a competitive situation, so be prepared. May seem like a no-brainer. Sometimes we rush just to get the offer done and get the paperwork in and get their terms and their price and this and that. We forget to set the stage for them. So it's very important that we set clear expectations with the buyers about what's going to come next. Okay, so do that first, please. Secondly, as far as price and terms and the other details of the contract, clear communication with the other agent, if assuming there's another agent involved, that has to come next. In this market, obviously, the buyers, most buyers, they're conceding on some things. They're compromising on some things that they might not otherwise. In such a competitive environment, they're left without a choice. So that being said, get as much information as you can from the listing agent as far as what is best for the seller. What terms, what items in the contract can we provide that will benefit the seller and are of no consequence to the buyer. Okay, does that make sense? So I'll give you an example. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, buyers have some flexibility with the closing date. Okay, so call the listing agent, let them know you're getting ready to prepare an offer, you'd like to get some details, and you may say something like, listen, my buyers have a lot of flexibility with the closing date. What works best for your client? What works best? Have them give you the date. One simple thing. Just making that gesture, again, so for those of us, I'm sure in the class you guys have taken, this is not the first time you've heard this said. So many agents don't communicate with the other agent. Believe it or not, they still don't communicate with the other agent. That has to be, it's imperative that you communicate with the other agent. Please don't ever just send an offer over. I know it sounds silly, but it happens. You know, and you know what happens to good agents too, because sometimes we get caught up in what we're doing and we're trying to act in our client's best interest. We get the offer together, we send it off, and we never have that conversation. So it's in your client's best interest to make sure you do that you reach out to them. So keep that in mind. Another thing that works really well is a little background on your buyers. So after you make that phone call to the other agent and you send the email with the offer, provide some background information for your buyers with their consent, obviously. And understand that I mean, if you haven't heard this already, that, you know, there was and for those of you that are new, maybe you don't know this, but there used to be a thing where buyers would write this long, extensive letter to the seller with their whole backstory and their this and their that, and it created a huge potential fair housing issue. So everyone kind of scrapped that idea. However, that information can be conveyed to the listing agent. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm agnostic on it as far as how I feel about it, but that information is sometimes conveyed to the seller. And that information sometimes can be the difference in your buyer getting the house or not. So it's just something I want you to consider. Provide some information with their consent about the buyer to the listing agent, not directly from the buyer to the seller, but from you to the other agent. Okay, again, with their consent. That's something that could be beneficial. For those of you that have written offers in this environment, what are some questions you may have about some other details? Just to give you some topics, I hear appraisals come up all the time. I get questions about that. I get questions about inspections. I get questions about mortgages, concessions, that sort of thing. So what would be helpful for us to discuss along those lines?
The big thing that I think, Kevin, is I'm good with terms and contingencies and stuff like that, but the purchase price right now is my biggest issue, because if you know, I just ran, I was looking at a house for my buyers, pulled comps. There were no comps.
course
So
not.
my first question was, okay, well, where'd they get these comps from? Like, where'd they get the number from? And so I went 12 months back, you know, just to see if they had possibly pulled maybe from later. And the houses they're selling. I wrote 3 offers, and each offer went over like $15,000 to $20,000. And if you have a first-time home buyer and you feel that that house isn't going to appraise for that, like, how can you advise your client on that purchase price? And most agents, they're not countering either. I've come with no counters, they're just taking a different offer. So like, how can you give them your best and still represent your client in a good manner?
So in this market right now, part of your expectations with your buyers in that conversation, you're going to have to make it clear that they are paying a premium right now. When you're paying a premium, that means you're paying outside of what the normal market would bring for that particular house. That's a reality that we're in, and it can't be avoided. So in a normal market, obviously you're working for your buyer, you're trying to get them the best price and terms possible. It feels a little different when you know that they're paying a premium. You're not getting the best price for them a lot of times, and actually in every case, you're directing them to pay the highest price that will appraise or whatever it may be. So it's an odd feeling, okay? And I've been doing this 20 years, and trust me, it still feels strange. But that's the reality we're at. So again, part of that conversation with them and understanding their needs, if they have a need and they need a house and they need this location or whatever it may be, they're going to pay a premium, okay? So make that very clear. That being said, there are some limitations. If you have a marginal buyer who, you know, every dime they have is going into their down payment and their closing costs, you may have difficulty with the appraisal, because what we found works well as far as addressing the appraisal concern for I'm going to say for the seller, is from the seller's perspective, if you have an FHA buyer with 3.5% down, they may be concerned that that buyer is not willing to pay or not able to pay the difference between the purchase price and the appraisal price, should it be lower. Because on the flip side of that, one way to address that issue for the seller is to write it right into the contract. The buyer will pay the difference between the purchase price and appraisal price should the appraisal price be lower. But you have to determine the financial viability of your buyer as to whether or not they're able to do that. If they're not able, then it's not part of your discussion. I would at least have the conversation with the buyer. And again, in this time right now, actually, I'll give you an example. I really don't work with a lot of buyers, to be honest with you. And actually, this particular buyer, my wife's going to help. However, I had the initial conversation because it was a referral from one of my clients. It's her son, actually, but he was going to need concessions. You don't know, having a buyer with concessions right now in 150 price range, good luck. It's almost impossible if they need concessions. So I know that, and I asked her and I asked him, I said, what other sources do you have to get money? Do you have a family member? Do you have anyone that may be willing to help you out right now? Because otherwise, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get you in a house at that price range needing concessions. His grandfather decided to give him money. His grandfather's going to give him like 10 grand or something like that. So now between what he has saved and what his grandfather's giving him, he doesn't need concessions anymore. So what happens a lot of times is we don't ask the question. So make sure you ask the question. Have them dig a little deeper. It may be uncomfortable. It may not be they may not want to hear you ask that question about whether or not they can find another source of the money for their down payment or their closing costs. But if we don't ask the question, we won't know. They may have a 401k that they don't know they can tap into. They may have a family member that would be willing to help them. So make sure you ask that question. Did I answer your question, Nicole? I'm sorry, I started rambling. I kind of forgot what you asked me. Did I answer what you wanted?
It definitely did. The market
Okay.
right now is just
Okay.
crazy.
Excellent. Yes, it is. It definitely is. Another thing, and I think maybe Nicole touched on it earlier, are inspections. So inspections are difficult right now because there are a lot of agents, myself included. It's not my first choice to have a buyer waive an inspection. Yet it's happening, on so many transactions where buyers are waiving the transaction or waiving the inspection. And sometimes that ends up making the difference and your buyers miss out. So something else to consider, depending on the condition of the home, I put right up front in the offer that the inspection will be used for informational purposes only. There will be no request for repairs or credit for repairs asked of the seller, or something to that effect. That can be beneficial. It allows the buyer the opportunity to have the inspection, and it sets the expectation with the seller that they're not going to be asking for any concessions after the inspection. I've seen it worded sometimes also where it explicitly says something to the effect of we're only the inspection is only going to be used for health or safety related items or something like that. So that it makes it pretty clear as far as what they're looking for. So just something else to consider with inspections. What else as far as buyers right now? Anyone? Oh, and congratulations, Jane. I just saw your text there. Congratulations. Can you unmute yourself? Are you in a place where you could tell us a little bit about that? Because if I remember correctly, that was one of these marginal buyers that I was just talking about.
Yeah. We were dealing with that Home Buyer's Dream program.
Yeah.
So we needed to write it for a September close.
Yeah.
Which, I'd been chasing that grant for like the last couple of months. And this was the 10th offer that we had written for this particular client.
Wow.
And, we were basically told we had till the weekend to get into the grant program. So, we looked at a ton of houses on Saturday, and this one thankfully didn't have delayed negotiations. It had just come onto market, no delayed negotiation. They liked the house. I'm not going to say they were in love with it, but they liked it and they agreed, yes, we should put in an offer. So basically, I just beat everyone else to getting the offer in. I immediately contacted the listing agent and kind of told him the situation I was in and asked him what would impress his sellers. Because, I wanted to find a home for my buyers. And my buyers already had been offering like $1,200 towards closing fees for the seller, which that caught their attention. And, we did go up a little bit higher over list price, but trying to differentiate ourselves from others with that contribution to seller closing costs, I believe, is what got it. And that he had received 2 other offers, but I mean, we were like, this all happened within hours of it being listed. And the buyers really didn't enjoy the inconvenience of having to show, be out of the house to have it be shown. So they found making a quick decision very attractive.
Yeah, good. And
because they themselves were looking still for another home, September wasn't an issue with them. So it's like everything aligned.
How many offers did you say you wrote with that buyer?
This was the 10th.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So the moral of that story is be persistent.
Oh,
be
and
persistent.
Just continue to, what I learned, from this was that whole, just continue to figure out how to differentiate yourself from those other offers being submitted. I joked with my buyer that, when we're in the house, look around. I go, I don't know, maybe you can see they love hot sauce or something, let's run in a case of hot sauce into the contract, just something. So,
Yeah. Nice. Good job. Congratulations on that. That's awesome.
right, we need to get through appraisal now.
Yes, get through the
It'll be
appraisal.
fine. It'll be fine.
Get through the appraisal.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Good job. What other things? What other things would you like to discuss? What questions do you guys have? I could ramble all day. I don't want to just keep rambling. So at least give me a little direction about where to ramble.
How can you end up switching your clients from buyers to getting listings? Like I've had listings, but they've been people that I've, were buying for. So like new leads into getting listings.
Yeah.
Something I
So
really want to dabble in.
yeah. So I think you're going to have to focus if you're going to do social media advertising, which I suggest that you do. You're going to want to focus that communication around listings. Again, offering something of value. Think about a CMA. Think about anything else that's going to provide value for a seller. Home improvements, things along those lines. Anything that relates to someone that's already in a home. Again, even though you're not necessarily coming out and saying list your house with me, you're providing something of value to them. And most importantly with that is being consistent. So if you're going to start communication, if you're going to pinpoint an area, a zip code, a neighborhood, whatever it may be, make sure you're consistent with that communication. Because that's what will bring the listings eventually. They see your name enough times and you've been providing something of value all along. When it comes time to think about listing, you're going to be top of mind. So really focus your efforts on things that will attract sellers. Home valuations and home improvement type things, anything geared towards people already in a home can be really helpful. And your conversations also with your sphere. Nicole, you'll remember this from the bold we took here locally. When you're calling someone and when you're in conversation with your referrals, most people will say, listen, if you know anyone that's looking to buy, sell, or invest, please let me know. Think about your wording. If you know anyone that's looking to sell or buy or invest, put that word first. Prioritize what you want to happen first and emphasize that. May seem silly, but again, that's what they'll remember. It's a mind game sometimes. So yeah, focus your conversation.
I have a question about that too. I think one of the big objections that I've been getting with potential sellers is, oh yeah, well then I need to find a place to go. And because that buyer market is so, and I agree 1,000-fold with Nicole that absolutely I would much rather be, and I'm kind of 50-50 buyer list, but certainly, this market right now is really, really tough for buyers and it's a cakewalk for sellers. So how do you overcome the objection of it's okay to list it? And maybe that's one of the reasons why the inventory is so limited. Because people, they think about it on the flip side that it's going to affect them. Yeah, great. I'll make major bank on my house when I sell it, but A, where the heck am I going to go? And B, I'm just going to pay a premium for what I'm buying.
Yeah.
So what's the point, right?
Yeah. So I think when you're dealing with someone like that, and actually I have a seller like that right now also, a couple actually. You have to bring them back to what's important to them right now. Because here's the reality is that if they're not willing to list, then maybe their urgency actually isn't there. And you can only direct them so much if they're really not interested in selling right now. Because I would argue that the fact that they're concerned about the buyer's market, although it's a concern, it is just an objection. And you can help people through their objection when they actually have a true dire need to sell or buy. So that particular
Which is
seller.
really getting back in touch with that motivation.
Yes, exactly. Getting back in touch with their motivation. And bringing them, as you're having that conversation, ask very pointed questions as far as what if you wait? What if you wait and the market changes? How's it going to feel to you when you sell at the bottom instead of at the top? Yes, I understand you may have to buy at the top as well, but at least you would have realized that on the flip side. How does it feel when you don't have, when you're not selling at a 15% premium or 10% premium, whatever that property is?
That's a really good point, especially for someone who has like some cosmetic downfalls, shall we say?
Yeah.
Diplomatically in their house, and maybe aren't willing to spend the money. Like maybe their kitchen isn't a total disaster, but it could use a little updating, or maybe they've got some wallpaper and just don't want to spend the money to go through it. I think buyers are willing to still pay a premium, for listings right now. So I love that. It definitely makes sense. How would you feel if you sold at the bottom? Or how would you feel to have to put money into your house then once things balance out a little bit, as opposed to being able to sell it most likely without having to do a whole lot?
Absolutely. I would couple that the potential cosmetic work they would have to do and sell at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And let them just sit in it. Don't answer the question for them. Ask the question and let them sit in it until they come up with their own response. We'll have a tendency to ask that question and want to fill in the blank for them once that silence gets uncomfortable, but let them sit in it and let them come up with their own answer.
Okay.
Because the reality is right now that to stick with that particular type of property is that not having to do any work, they'll likely still sell at a premium and they can move on. They're going to pay a premium also, but at least they're cashing out at the top and they have that cash available. But now with that particular house, they wait and then something changes. And now again, it's about their urgency, right? Their sense of urgency. Now they are in a position where they have to sell. They're at the bottom of the market. Oh, and by the way, now you have to go put $5,000 to $10,000 into your house as well to just get the bottom of the market. So bring them back to that and ask them questions around that and make sure that they're clear. And here's the other thing is that, again, if they're truly motivated, as they should be, you should be investigating their motivation. So if they're truly motivated, then why not just list and have a contingency to buy a house, to find a house? Have that contingency. What's the harm in that if they're truly motivated? And again, if that objection is, well, we may not find something, okay, but at least you have an opportunity. At least you get the house on the market. And by the way, again, depending on the house, what if it's one of these houses that goes nuts and they get $20,000 more than they thought they were going to? You think you might be able to afford to move twice if you get $20,000 more than what you thought you were going to? So you may have that conversation. Again, may or may not work. Like I said, I have a seller right now. I've thrown everything I have at them and the kitchen sink, and they're still not listing. And what it's told me is that they're just not motivated right now. So I'm gonna continue to nurture them, but I clearly understand that when I've afforded them all the options and answered all the objections that they've had so far, they're just truly not motivated to sell. They may say it. They may say they are. They may say they've outgrown their house and their two kids they're bursting at the seams in their 1,200 square foot house, but their actions tell me otherwise. What it tells me is that they're settling for what they have and they're not willing to do what it's going to take to move on. So truly understand your client's motivations, and it will really help direct your conversation. And questions. The bottom line is ask questions. Ask the hard questions. Trust yourself to ask the hard questions. That answer your question, Rebecca?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. What else, guys? These are great questions. What value can I bring in 9 minutes? We have 9 minutes left.
Kevin, have you been using, like for our like KW command apps that we are sending out?
Yeah.
I know me personally, like trying to keep up with it. Sometimes I feel like I'm going through like the same steps of like trying to find, people going through the smart plans, or like the smart plan goes away after some time. So you have to like re-put them into a smart plan.
Yes.
How have
So
you been keeping up with doing that with the current clients that you are working?
yes. So you have to keep track of the smart plan. So the beauty of the smart plan is that once you get them on it, it's kind of set it and forget it. However, what you have to remember is that the smart plans aren't infinite. They're usually set for a certain number of days, whatever that may be. So whatever clients you have coming in through your apps, if you're utilizing a smart plan or directing them through a smart plan, make sure you know the time frame. And the easiest way to do that is set a task for yourself. Either set it on your calendar or set it in command as a reminder. Hey, I need to either keep this smart plan going, or maybe I need to switch smart plans. And that may be the case. You may need to put them on a different smart plan as they evolve through your nurturing. But if you're not using smart plans in command, please check it out. Just play with it. Set one up for yourself. You can't break it if you set a smart plan up for yourself. Well, you can't break it anyway, but I mean, set a smart plan up for yourself. Sign into it. I don't care if you've never used it before and you think you don't know what you're doing. If you're using it for yourself, it doesn't matter. Set it up and see what it looks like. See what it feels like when you get the email, you get the text, whatever it may be. But I would definitely encourage you to go through smart plans.
I have a question. And,
Yes.
So people use all different methods to try to get the word out about themselves. And, there's various ways. In your experience, what protocol do you see that gets you the most true response? And I mean things like social media ads or advertising on Realtor or Trulia or anything that you've done. I know you've been in the business quite a while, so it's probably less of a factor, but if anyone else wants to, kind of dig in here, but what do you
Actually,
find?
I could tell you from experience, it wasn't too long ago. Although I've been in business 20 years, I started my own company in 2012. So I don't know if you guys know, but I used to own my own brokerage. So in 2012, when I started my brokerage, I want you to think of that as being a new agent. Nobody knew who Community Real Estate Group was. Nobody cared who I was. So I had to, I guess to sum it up, what worked best for me then, and I think would still work well now, is that I did as much as I could in the way of social media advertising. That worked really well for me. And most of my advertising was geared towards community events, things specifically going on in the community. I made a decision that I wanted to sell in Victor. That's where I lived. That's where my family is. That's where my kids go to school. That was going to be my area. End of story. So I focused all my efforts on Victor. I got involved in everything that I could in Victor. I was a member of the fire department. I was a paramedic. I did this. I did that. I told you about the other things I did, the Chamber of Commerce, the Merchants Group, whatever I could to get myself out there. And at one point, only Holly Creek sold more real estate in Victor than I did. And it was nothing special. It's not because I'm anything special. It was because I was relentless in what I was doing. And so, again, that's my approach, because I believe in community involvement. I believe that is part of business. And that, again, that's my why. I want to live in and build a better community. So that was important to me. That was my approach. That's not for everyone. You know what I mean? Not everyone's in an area where that's even feasible. You know what I mean? We have people out in Gateway. We have people out in Naples, and actually Naples isn't a good example. Further out than Naples, Prattsburg or something where you don't have that luxury there. So you have to get creative with your marketing, and just anything that you do, think of it from the consumer's point of view. What types of things do you come across on social media that would engage you? Even if you don't actually click that button, just think of the things that you would engage with if you were inclined. Usually we just keep scrolling. But there are those times when you see it and you go, wow, that was clever. Or, yeah, that's me. And think of those ideas and think of the things that would engage you. Because again, oh no, we have 4 minutes still. I thought it was 2:29. The reason why I want you to focus on those things is because another part about being successful in this business is being authentic. So when you start to think about the things that engage you and the things that you would gravitate towards, those are the things you're going to do, and that's who you are. So if you can be authentic in this business, you're going to have success. So think about those things. Next time you're seeing I don't care what ad it is. I don't care if it's a TV commercial, social media, something you get in the mail, start thinking about the things that speak to you. And because eventually that's going to reflect, that's going to be a reflection of what you put out as you're trying to solicit business. Because it's different for all of us, right? We all have different things that are going to engage us. So,
Right.
What else? You guys are asking great questions.
Before we go, so Nicole, did you put that on those scripts? Did you send them to the solo agent?
I'm gonna scan them in. I just have to be, I don't know, Kev, if I have to be accepted into the mastermind group.
Oh, you're not in there yet?
I just recently saw it, so before I got on the call, I made sure to join it.
Okay.
And I can scan those in and I'll attach it. Is there any other ones that you want me to put in that I think that might be helpful other than just the referral one?
So listen, this group is for you guys. This group is for us. Anything you think that may be helpful from that bold program, I would encourage you to share.
I think the next one that might be the best is the promise, because when Dennis dropped that to us pretty much the last day of bold, I was like, why weren't we having this conversation before?
Okay.
If you would just do me a favor and just rename the PDF, whatever the document is, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely.
What is the group that we're talking about? I don't know what that is.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is there is it a Facebook group, Solo Agent Mastermind?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry, who's speaking?
it's Rebecca, sorry.
Rebecca, I'll make sure that we invite you, okay? And Nicole, I just saw yours and I just approved it, so you're.
Thank you.
Me
And I'll
too.
attach
Invite
it
me.
right on for
Invite me
you.
too.
All right, Len, I'll get you. Are all of you, is everyone else a member or have at least been invited, maybe not noticed, to the Solo Agent Mastermind group?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Lynn, Rebecca, I'll add. Hang on, if I don't write that down, I won't do it.
Me too, please.
Jane, was that you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll add you guys. No wonder, I was surprised. So I didn't realize, because I actually was invited to it late. Jessica actually created it. And so I posted in there that we were having that just as a reminder for this, and no one responded. I thought, gosh, no one's going to show up today. So I'm thankful that you guys showed up.
Well, it's the same solo one for each, even though like Susan Glenn's has done this and someone else. It's that same group. You don't each have your own, right?
No, yes, exactly. It's the same group.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, it's 2:30. Thank you guys very much.
Are you going to mention your book club?
Oh, thank you, Jane. Yes, tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Jane, what would I do without you and Andrea reminding me all the time? Tomorrow at 2 o'clock is our book club. We're doing the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So please feel free to join us. Tomorrow's the first week. So join us. I'll post something on Facebook. I meant to do it Monday and I forgot. Thank you, Jane, for reminding me.
What are we to read in preparation?
You're going to read. We're going to read 47 through 61, the 6 myth understandings.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, make it 31. Go ahead and read the overview also. Make it 31 through 61, just to be safe. Okay?
Yep. See you later,
All right,
Kevin.
guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.